Dark clouds of dust moved slowly across its cracked surface. Thin rivers of glowing lava cut through the stone like orange veins. Above the broken landscape, the black shape of the human dropship hovered with quiet purpose. It looked like a shadow against the red sky. Inside the dropship, Captain Elena Vargas stood near the ramp with her helmet under her arm. Her squad sat around her, checking their weapons and gear for the third time. Nobody spoke much. They didn't have to. Everyone knew what kind of place they were about to enter. The mission was simple on paper. A diplomatic envoy had gone missing 2 days ago. The envoy's last signal came from under the surface, from the hive, the underground nest of the Krelith swarm. No one had ever entered a Krelith hive and returned. But humans had a way of doing what no one else dared. Elena ran a hand over the smooth metal of her helmet. She was calm but focused. "Listen up," she said. Her voice was steady, cutting through the sound of the engines. "We go in quiet. We get the envoy. We get out. If we run into the swarm, we stay smart, not loud." Sergeant Mason grinned faintly. "I prefer loud." "You can be loud after we're done," Elena replied. Her team chuckled, just enough to ease the tension. But their eyes stayed sharp. Private Aisha checked the pulse beacon on her wrist. "Once we're inside the hive, comms will be weak," she said. "We'll have 10 minutes of clean signal, maybe less." "Then we won't waste a second," Elena said. The ramp opened with a hiss. A blast of hot, dry air rushed into the dropship. The ground below was made of black volcanic rock, cracked and scarred. The entrance to the hive lay ahead, a wide, jagged hole that led straight down into darkness. It didn't look like a tunnel made by machines. It looked alive. The walls around the entrance pulsed faintly as if something beneath the surface was breathing. One by one, the squad moved down the ramp and formed a tight line. Their boots sank slightly into the ash and dust. Their armor reflected the glow of the lava streams nearby. The hive entrance waited like a mouth ready to swallow them whole. "Signal check." Elena ordered. "Green," Mason said. "Green," Aisha confirmed. "Green," came the rest of the replies. Elena nodded once. "Move out." They entered the hive. The air inside was damp and warm. It smelled faintly sweet, like overripe fruit left too long in the sun. The walls weren't stone. They were something else, something organic. They pulsed with a soft blue-green light, just enough to see without using lamps. The sound of distant movement echoed through the tunnels. It was not a human sound. The hive went down in long spirals. Sometimes the tunnel widened into chambers that seemed to breathe. Other times it narrowed so much that they had to walk in single file. Everything around them seemed to be alive, watching, waiting. "Keep your scanners running," Elena whispered through her helmet mic. Aisha tapped her wristpad. "No active contacts yet, but the hive is, weird. It's like it's listening." "It is," Mason muttered. "These bugs are smart." They continued downward. The silence pressed on them like a weight. Every step they took was careful. Every sound seemed too loud. Elena moved at the front, scanning for movement. Her HUD showed faint heat signatures deeper inside, but they were scattered like whispers in the dark. Then they heard it. A sound. Not the insect chittering they expected. Something softer, a sob. The team froze. The sound came from a side tunnel to their left. It was narrow, dark, and wet. Elena raised her hand. 2 fingers. Mason and Aisha followed her silently, while the rest of the team covered their backs. They moved carefully down the side tunnel. The sobbing grew clearer. It was broken, quiet, trembling. At the end of the tunnel was a small chamber. A single figure sat there against the wall, shaking. It was an alien woman, tall and slender, her skin pale blue, her clothing torn but not destroyed. Her eyes had too many facets like a crystal, but they were filled with fear. She saw the humans and flinched, raising her arms to shield herself. Elena lowered her weapon a little. "We're not here to hurt you," she said slowly. Her translator projected the words into the alien's language with a soft hum. The alien woman stared at her. "Humans," she whispered. Her voice shook. "You shouldn't be here." Mason took a step forward, scanning the chamber. "Who are you?" "I was captured," the alien said. "My people were taken. The hive eats everything. You shouldn't have come." Elena crouched down, meeting her gaze through the faceplate of her helmet. "We came for someone. A human envoy. Did you see them?" The alien woman swallowed hard. "Yes, taken deeper. Where the hive breathes, can you walk?" Elena asked. The alien hesitated, then nodded weakly. Then you're coming with us. The alien woman's eyes widened. You don't understand. You are inside the hive now. Her voice trembled as if the words themselves carried a warning. No one escapes the hive. Elena stood up slowly. Then it's about time someone did. The squad pushed forward with the alien woman walking carefully behind them. Her breathing was quick, her steps light, as if every sound might call down the swarm. The tunnel opened into a vast cavern. It was the largest space they had seen yet. The ceiling disappeared into shadows. Strange organic columns rose from the floor like the ribs of a giant beast. In the center, a thick pillar pulsed with a heartbeat-like rhythm. It was the hive's core path, leading straight to the Queen's chamber. Isha checked her scanner. Multiple signals ahead. At least 30 drones. Maybe more. Mason tightened his grip on his rifle. Fun. No fighting unless we have no choice, Elena said firmly. We don't need to win a war down here. We just need to steal back what's ours. They moved carefully around the cavern, using the shadows and natural structures for cover. The drones were fast-moving shapes with long limbs and chitinous armor, crawling across the walls like living shadows. Their clicking voices echoed through the chamber in strange, uneven rhythms, the alien woman whispered. They're talking to the hive. It knows you're here. Then we keep moving, Elena said. The path narrowed again. The squad slipped through a living corridor. The walls were softer here, almost like muscle. Every step they took made the walls quiver slightly. It felt as if they were walking through the body of something massive. Captain, Aisha whispered. Signals starting to break. Expected, Elena replied. Switch to short-range burst comms. Copy. They passed through another chamber. This one was filled with strange pods like giant eggs. The alien woman stopped suddenly, clutching her arms. Don't touch them, she said in a small voice. They're listening, Mason frowned. Pods can't listen. They can, she insisted. The hive listens through everything. Elena gave a small nod. Then we stepped lightly. Minutes stretched like hours. The deeper they went, the more the hive seemed to close in around them. The air grew hotter. The light dimmed to a strange blue flicker. Elena's heartbeat stayed steady, but she could feel the hive pressing against her mind. Not literally, but like a storm building at the edge of her thoughts. Then Aisha froze. Captain, she whispered. Something's moving behind us. The squad turned. At the edge of the tunnel, shapes moved in the shadows. The Krelith drones. Long limbs, sharp claws, empty black eyes. Dozens of them. Elena raised her hand. No panic, no shouting. Just calm. Form up. Move fast. The squad began moving again, faster but still silent. The alien woman stumbled once, but Mason caught her arm without a word. The sound of the drones grew louder. A wet, clicking noise like knives tapping glass. The tunnel opened into another chamber, smaller, round, like a beating heart. The walls pulsed faster now, as if the hive itself could sense them. Isha checked the beacon again. 5 minutes of signal left. Elena studied the path ahead. A narrow shaft went down into darkness. Heat rose from it like breath. She knew this was the right way, deeper toward the Queen's chamber. That was where the envoy would be. She looked back at her team. This is it. We're in their nest now. Mason gave a half smile. About time. The alien woman shook her head slowly, fear still clear in her trembling voice. No, you don't understand. You are inside the hive now, and the hive never lets go. Elena stepped toward the shaft and pulled her helmet on. Her visor flickered to life with tactical overlays. Then let's make it choke on us. And with that, she jumped down first, leading the way into the dark. Captain Elena Vargas moved first, sliding down the tunnel with her boots scraping the wet living walls. The sound echoed softly. The rest of the squad followed close behind her. Mason came second, then Aisha, and then the others. The alien woman, trembling and pale, held tightly to the rope they had lowered. The deeper they went, the hotter the air became. It wasn't just heat. It felt like the hive itself was breathing. A low, deep pulse shook the tunnel every few seconds like a distant heartbeat. When Elena reached the bottom, her boots landed on soft ground. Not rock flesh, the floor was warm and slightly sticky. A faint blue light glowed from the walls, showing a wide chamber filled with strange structures. It looked like a cathedral made of bone and muscle. Clear, Elena whispered. Mason landed next to her. Feels like walking inside a giant animal. Focus, she said. Eyes open. The rest of the team dropped down. The alien woman was last. She stumbled when her feet touched the floor, but Mason steadied her. Her eyes were wide, reflecting the blue glow around them. "This is the lower hive," she whispered. "The Queen's breath reaches everything here." Elena scanned the chamber with her visor. A network of tunnels spread out like veins, leading deeper. Heat signatures flickered faintly at the edges of the display. Moving shapes, drones. Aisha knelt down, placing a small round device on the floor. It blinked red, then green. "Sensor node active," she said. "We'll get a map of movement around us, at least for a few minutes." "Good," Elena replied. "We'll need it." The team moved through the tunnels like shadows. No one spoke unless necessary. The alien woman walked between Mason and Aisha. She flinched at every sound. She had grown up hearing stories about the hive. She never thought she would walk inside it. The tunnels here were different. They weren't just alive, they were aware. The walls pulsed faster when the humans passed. The air vibrated faintly as if the hive was listening. Mason whispered, "I don't like this place." "Good," Elena said quietly. "Means you're paying attention." As they turned a corner, they saw movement ahead. 3 Krelith drones crawled along the wall like insects. Their bodies were long and black with hard shells and 6 legs. Their heads had no eyes, only smooth curved plates. They moved with silent speed. Elena raised her fist. The team froze. She counted silently. 1, 2, 3. Then she threw a small sphere down the tunnel. It landed softly. A tiny pulse of blue light flickered, then vanished. The drones stopped. Their heads turned toward the sound. Mason pulled a thin wire attached to the sphere. It let out a burst of ultrasonic noise. The drones rushed toward it like sharks to blood. The humans didn't wait. They moved around the side through a narrow opening. While the drones attacked the decoy, the squad slipped past unseen. "Clever," Aisha whispered. Elena didn't smile. "We're not stronger than them. We just have to be smarter." Minutes passed like hours. The tunnels grew tighter. The sounds grew louder. Clicking, tapping, and the low hum of the hive's pulse. They reached a large opening. The chamber beyond was enormous, bigger than anything they had seen so far. It was shaped like a dome with walls covered in shining black resin. At the center, thick organic cables came down from the ceiling and pulsed like giant veins. The air was heavy, and there, near the cables, stood cages. Elena lifted her hand, signaling the team to stop. She zoomed in through her visor. Inside one of the cages was a human on the envoy. His face was pale, but he was alive. His wrists were bound with sticky hive material. His eyes opened weakly as the team observed him. "We found him," Mason whispered. Aisha checked her scanner. "But we're not alone. Look at this." Red dots spread across her display. Dozens of moving signals surrounded the chamber. Drones. A lot of them. "They're protecting the Queen's core," the alien woman said. "If you step inside, the hive will attack." Elena crouched behind a curved piece of wall. She studied the layout. "We can't just charge in," Mason smirked. "We could," she ignored him. "There are too many. If we attack head-on, we'll get torn apart. We need a distraction, something big." Aisha tapped her gear. "I can overload the sensor node we placed earlier. If I trigger it remotely, it'll send out a false attack signal on the hive's nerve net. Might make them think we're somewhere else." "How long would that give us?" Elena asked. "Maybe 40 seconds, Aisha said. "Good enough," Elena replied. She turned to her team. "We move fast, grab the envoy, and run. No hero games. Mason, you and Torres cover the left flank. Aisha, you're on the node. Kim and I will grab the envoy. Move on my mark." The alien woman stepped forward, her voice shaking. "The hive is not like a machine. It learns fast. Then we'll be faster," Elena said simply. Aisha tapped her wrist pad. A faint red light blinked on her screen. The decoy signal activated. Far away, the hive walls shuddered as the fake pulse went out. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a low roar echoed through the tunnels. The drones turned their heads in unison and crawled away toward the fake signal. Dozens of sharp legs scraped the floor like rain. "Go," Elena ordered. The team ran. Their boots hit the ground softly, their movements sharp and clean. Elena and Kim reached the cages first. The envoy looked up at them in disbelief. "You came," he whispered weakly. "Of course we did," Elena said. She pulled out a cutting torch and sliced through the sticky resin. The material melted with a hiss. The envoy fell forward into Kim's arms. Meanwhile, Mason and Torres set up their portable shields along the flank. The shields hummed to life with a faint blue barrier, just in case the drones returned early. Aisha watched the scanner nervously. "We've got 30 seconds left." The alien woman hovered near the entrance, trembling. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Humans were inside the hive and winning. The hive roared, not a sound made by a creature, a sound made by everything. The walls vibrated. The ground shook. The cables at the center pulsed faster. The fake signal had worked, but the hive had already learned the trick. Red dots returned on Aisha's scanner, fast. "They're coming back! Move!" Elena shouted. The team lifted the envoy and started running. The tunnels behind them filled with clicking and scraping sounds. Dozens of drones rushed after them, their movements fast and spider-like. Their bodies glimmered in the blue light like armored shadows. Torres threw down 2 flash grenades. They burst with blinding light and sharp noise. The drones screeched, their legs flailing. Mason fired a short burst from his rifle, hitting the ceiling above the drones. Chunks of organic matter fell, slowing them down, but more were coming. Aisha guided them through side tunnels, using her scanner to find the least crowded path. The hive seemed to shift as they moved, as if trying to close off their escape. Walls shivered. The pulse grew louder. The alien woman gasped. "The hive is angry." Elena glanced back at her. "Good, let it be." They reached a fork in the tunnel. One path led upward, toward the shaft. The other led deeper into darkness. "They're blocking the shaft," Aisha said, reading her scanner. Too many, Elena thought fast. "Then we don't use the shaft." Mason raised an eyebrow. "You want to go deeper?" "I want to go through," Elena replied. She pointed to a service route shown on the map Aisha had built with the sensor nodes. It wasn't part of the main hive structure, more like an old mining tunnel that the hive had grown around. It led directly to the surface on the other side of the mountain. "It's risky," Kim said. Elena looked at the envoy, pale but alive. "We like risky." The team ran through the side tunnel. It was narrower, rougher, filled with rocks and hive roots. The air was thick and hot. Behind them, the drones followed like a living wave. Their clicking filled every space, a storm of sound. Mason placed a line of explosive charges on the tunnel walls as they moved. "This will slow them down," he said. "Or make them madder," Torres muttered. "Either works," Mason replied with a grin. When the team reached the tunnel's midpoint, Mason pressed the trigger. A deafening boom echoed through the hive. The explosion shook the tunnel, sending chunks of resin and rock crashing down. Dust filled the air. The drones behind screamed, trapped temporarily by the collapse. The alien woman stared at the humans in shock. "No one has ever fought the hive like this." Elena's voice was calm. "That's because no one's us." But the hive wasn't done. Ahead of them, new drones dropped from the ceiling. These were bigger guardians. Their bodies were heavier with sharp claws and thick armor. Mason cursed softly. "Now it's a party. Stay tight," Elena ordered. The fight was fast and brutal. The humans used everything they had. Mason fired precise bursts at the weak spots in the drone's armor. Aisha tossed stun grenades that flashed bright enough to blind the creatures. Kim shielded the envoy, keeping him behind cover. Elena moved like a blade, quick and sharp, firing and shifting her position before the drones could corner her. The alien woman pressed herself against the wall, watching with wide eyes. She had seen her own people run from the hive in terror, but humans didn't run. They fought. They didn't have claws or hard shells. They had will. One guardian lunged at Mason. Elena shot it in the neck joint, the only weak point. The creature collapsed with a heavy thud. 2 more followed, but the squad stood their ground. A minute later, the last guardian fell. Silence filled the tunnel except for the hive's distant pulse. Aisha breathed hard. "We need to move." "They won't stop," Elena nodded. "Then neither will we." The tunnel opened into a wide, echoing chamber. The air was hot and heavy. A faint red glow came from the walls, mixing with the hive's natural blue light. The team slowed their steps. Captain Elena Vargas raised her hand, signaling a halt. Behind her, Mason lowered the wounded envoy carefully to the ground. Aisha scanned the walls. The alien woman clutched her arms tightly, her eyes moving quickly in fear. "We're close," Aisha whispered. "The surface tunnel should be about 200 meters ahead." But what? Mason asked. Aisha pointed to the scanner. "Red dots, a lot of them. They're everywhere. They've surrounded us. It's like the hive knew where we were going." The alien woman trembled. The hive doesn't just see through eyes. It feels everything. The walls, the air, the tunnels. You are inside it. It knows. Elena's jaw tightened. Then it's time we teach it something new. She crouched down, spreading the holographic map on her wrist pad. We're here, she said, pointing to a pulsing blue dot. The exit is here. There's only one tunnel big enough to move fast. Mason frowned. And a whole swarm between us and freedom. Exactly, Elena said. Her voice was calm, firm. We don't fight through them. We make them fight themselves. The alien woman looked confused. How? Aisha tapped her pack. Remember the signal amplifier? If we boost it, we can hijack their hive pulse. For a few seconds at least. Just a few? Torres asked. Aisha nodded. That's all I can promise. This hive is huge. It will fight back. Elena stood. A few seconds is enough. We don't need to control them forever. Just long enough to open a path. The team moved quickly. Mason and Torres set up explosive charges along the tunnel walls. Aisha took out the signal amplifier, a small black box with glowing lines across its surface. She connected it to her wrist pad and started overriding the hive's frequency. The alien woman stepped closer, watching in awe. You're trying to speak to it? No, Aisha said softly. We're trying to shout louder. The hive pulse grew stronger. A low hum filled the tunnel like the sound of a giant heartbeat. The walls vibrated. Distant clicking echoed from every direction. The drones were closing in. 5 minutes, Aisha whispered. Maybe less. Elena knelt beside the envoy. His breathing was weak but steady. We're getting you out, she said. Her voice was soft, but it carried weight. The envoy gave a small, tired nod. I knew. Humans wouldn't leave me. Elena put a hand on his shoulder. We don't leave our own. The first wave of drones appeared at the far end of the tunnel. Dozens of black insect-like bodies crawled along the walls and ceiling. Their clicking grew louder as they approached. Red light reflected off their smooth shells. The hive itself seemed to roar in the background, as if angry that something small dared to fight it. Mason aimed his rifle. Just say the word. Not yet, Elena said. Hold. The second wave followed. Larger drones, guardians with thick armor and longer claws. They moved slowly but powerfully, their limbs digging deep into the tunnel walls. Behind them, the floor itself began to shift as if something even bigger was approaching. The alien woman whispered, The queen is awake. Aisha's hands moved quickly over her pad. Amplifier ready. Do it, Elena said. A sharp pulse of blue light burst from the black box. It hit the tunnel walls like a shockwave. The drones froze mid-crawl. Their heads jerked up. For a heartbeat, silence fell. Then the hive's pulse changed. The low hum shifted pitch, becoming higher, sharper. The drones trembled. Some turned their heads toward each other in confusion. The hive mind was no longer one clean signal. It was two, the queen's. And the humans, Mason grinned. I think you broke their brain. Not broken, Aisha said, sweat running down her temple. Borrowed. Then borrow it faster, Torres said. They're getting angry. Elena stepped forward, voice cold and steady. All charges ready? Set and armed, Mason replied. Good, on my mark. The drones screamed. It was not a human sound, and it was sharp, layered like metal tearing. Half of them turned toward the humans. The other half turned on each other. Claws slashed. Bodies crashed. The hive had become confused, attacking itself in the dark. Now, Elena shouted. Mason pressed the detonator. The tunnel walls exploded. Fire and dust filled the air. The explosion ripped through the confused swarm. Drones fell in pieces. The tunnel shook violently, but it opened a path forward, a narrow, dangerous gap through the chaos. Move, Elena barked. The team grabbed the envoy and ran. The alien woman followed, still trembling, but her eyes burned with something new. She had never seen anyone fight the hive like this. Not with brute force. With brains. Behind them, the drones screamed and tore at each other. The hive roared through the walls like a wounded beast. The queen was fighting to regain control, Isha gasped. The signal won't last long. It doesn't have to, Elena said. They reached a junction, a massive chamber shaped like a dome. In the center, a living spire pulsed with bright red veins. The alien woman stopped short. Her face went pale. This is the queen's heart. Elena stared at it. The hive's pulse came from here. Every wall, every drone, every sound. It all connected to this single core. And the exit tunnel ran just behind it. Mason cursed under his breath. Of course it's in the way. The alien woman shook her head. You can't go around. The hive is born from here. She will not let you pass. Elena's eyes narrowed. Then we don't pass around. We go through. Aisha's voice trembled. You're not serious. I am, Elena said. We blow the Queen's heart. That gives us time. The Queen's voice filled the chamber. It wasn't spoken. It was inside their heads. A sharp, cold sound that made the alien woman fall to her knees. The drones around the walls began to crawl toward them again, faster than before. The hive was angry now, truly angry. Set every charge we have left, Elena ordered. The team spread out, sticking explosive packs to the pulsing spire. Mason worked fast, his hands steady. Torres and Aisha covered him, firing at drones that tried to close the distance. Elena stood at the center, holding the line like a wall of steel. The alien woman crawled closer to her. You can't destroy it, she whispered. It's the hive. Elena's voice was quiet, calm, but sharp like a blade. Then the hive should have picked someone else to mess with. The hive attacked. Drones poured in from every direction. The team fought like wolves. Mason's rifle burned through magazines, every shot clean. Torres slammed down grenades, sending fire through the swarm. Aisha kept the amplifier running even as it sparked in her hands, buying them seconds they didn't have. The Queen's scream filled their skulls. The alien woman cried out and covered her ears, but Elena didn't flinch. She had been a soldier too long to fear noise. Mason yelled, Charges are set. Fall back, Elena shouted. The team retreated toward the exit tunnel, dragging the envoy with them. Drones slammed against the walls and floor, but the humans kept moving. Even injured, tired, and outnumbered, they moved with the sharpness of people who had decided not to die here. Elena pressed the detonator. The world shook. The Queen's heart exploded in a wave of blue and red fire. The spire cracked, split, and burst. The hive's pulse went wild, like a heartbeat skipping uncontrollably. The drones screamed and convulsed. Some fell. Others turned in circles like broken machines. The alien woman stared at the destruction in shock. No one. Mason laughed breathlessly. Yeah, well, first time for everything. Go, Elena shouted. The team sprinted through the collapsing chamber. The hive walls shuddered and cracked. Organic resin peeled away from stone. The Queen's power was fading fast. The alien woman stumbled but kept running, following the humans. They reached the surface tunnel. It was narrow and slanted upward. Wind rushed down from above, clean, cool air, freedom. But the hive wasn't finished. A final roar shook the tunnel. The Queen's last guardians dropped down from the ceiling, huge, black, armored. Their claws hit the floor with heavy thuds. 3 of them blocked the path, Mason swore. Big boys. Elena raised her weapon. We don't stop now. The last fight began. The guardians charged. The team scattered into position like a well-oiled machine. Mason slid to the right, firing at their legs. Torres threw a flash grenade into the center, blinding 2. Aisha dragged the envoy out of the way. Elena rushed forward, firing at the weak joint between head and torso. The alien woman stood frozen. All her life she had been told the hive could not be beaten. But here in front of her, humans fought monsters twice their size with nothing but grit and will. Something inside her shifted. Fear didn't control her anymore. One guardian lunged at Elena. She rolled aside, fired a burst into its neck, and watched it collapse with a scream. Mason and Torres took the second down together, blasting it until it stopped moving. The third charged at Aisha. The alien woman moved without thinking. She grabbed a dropped stun grenade and threw it at the creature's face. The flash blinded it long enough for Elena to empty a full magazine into its weak spot. It fell with a crash. Breathing hard, Mason leaned against the tunnel wall. Remind me never to do this again. Shut up, Elena said, but there was a small smile in her voice. Move. The team climbed the tunnel, dragging the envoy with them. Sunlight spilled down from the exit. The first breath of open air tasted like life. Behind them, the hive burned and crumbled. The Queen's pulse was broken. The once endless clicking grew quiet, then silent.